Hey everyone, welcome to the EOF Implementers Call number 15. Let's go ahead and get started with some client updates. Does anybody want to share some of the updates they have had in the last few weeks? Iman?
From Nethermind's side, from Nethermind's side.
You are very quiet, Ivan.
Okay, from Nethermind's side, we prototyped the three call opcodes: the call, delegate call, and static call 222, and we fixed some bugs, and that is mostly it, to be honest. We did some more patches here and there.
Great, thanks for the update. Dano?
Mostly I've been focusing on the new random calls that came up in for Cancun. I haven't done the pay, but the M copy, and I've been doing some optimizations for call to get ready for call 2. That turned into a deep rabbit hole that I probably went too far in some areas on with undo lists. Yeah, I guess my main question with memory copy is, this might be the wrong call for that, but what the concern from the testing team is about why it's not easy to put in, but that's not for this call.
Yeah, maybe we have a minute to talk about it later. We can. Did we say that MCOPY was going into Cancun, or is it still up in the air?
It's still up in the air. We didn't have enough time to talk about it. We spent too much time on, I think SSZ, or we spent too much time on self-destruct is ruining my business.
Right. Okay, yeah, if we have a minute, let's try and mention that. This is the EOF, EVM, and friends, and so anybody who's trying to change the M has to band together, you know. Yeah, Epsilon, do you guys have anything to mention for EVM1?
We have merged data opcodes implementations. That's one update, and yeah, some other work is in progress, like new calls implementations and delegate call restriction and grade 3. Yeah.
Great. Any other client updates? Any compiler updates in the last few weeks? Makes sense. Spec updates, questions, comments?
Yeah, I think there's some update from we really tried to merge some of the outstanding EIP PRs. I think around the delegate call restriction, the RJump V numbers, and I think we just ran into some under-specified pieces, if I recall correctly. Pavel was working on that. But I think besides that, most of the focus has been spent on the calls 2.0 discussion. And we also had like an internal discussion regarding the opcode renaming. Because basically we have all the EOF stuff implemented in EVM1 as well as mcopy. And mcopy, based on the new table, the mcopy uses the RJump V opcode number. And we were wondering if now we need to, change every single EOF opcode and update the state test in order to unblock any further work on mcopy and anything else. But we agreed that the new opcode structure is nice, so we want to do it. We were just wondering if we could delay the work, because changing all the tests is quite a bit of work. I think that's it.
So I've got the table on lists ready to check into the execution spec, but I don't know which buttons to push to get it reviewed or merged. It's not terribly clear in that process who is the right person to pursue to get updates.
So I think Sam Wilson is probably, yeah, one of the main maintainers of that repo. I'm also a maintainer of the specs repo and can review it. And Tim also. And since like we did discuss it on all core devs and people seemed okay with it, I think, yeah, I don't see a PR in there right now, but if you open the PR, we'll see it and get to it. So then I guess just the question is like, when do we want that to sort of become active?
I think relatively soon. I think it'll be a great divider between big EOF and mega EOF, not just the few opcodes, but the full renaming of stuff. So it'll make a good line in the sand between the two generations. One open question, there was a request to move create 3 into the E block. And another sub question from that is, do we put it at EE or do we move it around? So it's create 3, create 4, return contract. I'm inclined to renumber it. So create 3 as EC, create 4 as ED, and return contract as EE. And then we reserve EF for compatibility.
What do you mean reserved for compatibility? Isn't it already banned in 3.5.4.1?
As the first byte, but not as a byte in general.
Yeah, you're right, sorry. I see. Does that sound okay with people? I don't think I have an opinion on this. Okay, yeah, that sounds fine to me.
I'll get that updated pushed up before I go camping.
Great. Let's see. One thing I was thinking on this is if it would be possible to have the table have all of the opcodes contiguously as well, and maybe have a section for the proposed. What do you think about that?
There are 4 pages right now. There is a pending opcodes page. There is an all opcodes page. There is a blocks page, and there is a page listing every proposed opcode ever in the history of EIPs.
Perfect. Yeah.
That hasn't shipped. Once it ships, it gets cut from that page.
Sweet. Yeah, I think it would just be cool to have a list of like every opcode, and then maybe, if there is still contention around 2 things going for the same opcode, have it clear like what are all the things that have been proposed for this specific opcode.
That's a long list, and there's a long list of stuff that's been abandoned, which is why I separated it into proposed, and there's pending and proposed. And pending is stuff that has been talked about recently on all core devs, and proposed, the only requirement is that you've published an EAP and asked for an opcode.
Okay. Yeah,
and there's a lot of those for the there's a lot of those where the opcodes have already been overwritten for the proposed, but I haven't updated what's been proposed.
Right. Okay.
But the pending list has no conflicts.
Great. Yeah, so I think that in the list of all opcodes, if we just have the pending ones there as well, so we can like kind of have that overlay to see the overall layout with the pending applied is useful.
Okay, so I'll make a 5th page, or I'll do another section under pending opcodes.
Yeah, whatever you think, and then we can see what comes out of it on the PR. But I think it'll be fine.
Okay, I'll add that table to the pending opcodes list.
Sorry, Alex, you mentioned not wanting to make this change around mcopy opcode for a little while. When would be good to like come with these new opcode organization?
No, I mean, it's fine. It's just, it's just quite a bit of work to do the EOF test updates. Because I think we spent, I don't know, a really long time changing all of them from Shanghai to Cancun. And now, of course, we need to change that to Prague and also have the opcodes. I think it's going to be like 2 weeks worth of work.
Jesus.
But if anybody's, I mean, it's just an insane amount of tests we have. All of them need to be refilled.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I think probably best then is to like have a note in the mega EOF spec that these are the opcodes. And we can continue moving forward with the opcode table that Dano's come up with, the assumption that this is like where things are moving, but not have any kind of further EOF work blocked on moving those tests over, and that can be done at some later point. Does that seem okay for everyone? Or is that too confusing?
That seems fine.
Okay. Let's plan on doing that. Other spec questions, updates? Hyman.
Hi, I heard in the, I think 4844 call that they are thinking of invalidating that the two field in the transaction, in the new transaction format will not have a null value, or will be invalid if it has a null value. So will that affect the new transaction format that we have for EOF?
So what would the alternative be for create transaction? All zeros?
What?
There will not be a create transaction for blob transactions.
Okay. Oh, so we're banning creates there. That's no creates for blobs. That's good.
I generally think it's positive because we, as you all know, have to come up with all of these tests for all the different scenarios. And so transaction creation is this other annoying scenario we have to then test every other thing as part of. So I think with EOF, the transaction changes we need to do, we're going to have to do that separately anyways. So it seems okay.
I mean, with the create for design, we didn't have a create transaction. That was the point. It would be just, these extra payloads. And
Right.
if somebody wants to create deploy from an EOA, then they just use the legacy create transaction, before 4844.
Yep. Perfect. Other spec comments, questions? Okay. Testing updates. Do we have anything to talk about?
Yeah, well, from my side, not much. I've tried to include EVM1 into the execution spec test, Python tests, to be able to fill the tests, and this proved to be a little bit more complicated than I expected, so I couldn't manage to include the EVM1 yet. It's not a matter that it's not possible, it's just that I didn't have enough time to spare for this. So I just need to work on it a little bit more, and we should be able to fill tests using EVM1. I think things would be a little bit easier if there was a get implementation, but if we want EVM1 at some point to be able to fill the Python tests, I think it's worth fixing this the interfacing between the Python test and EVM1 to be able to fill tests in the future. But yeah, apart from that, not much. Not much from my side.
Cool. Yeah, I think for EOF, it is really useful to have EVM1 as a test filler for the spec test, just because I know the Epsilon team is familiar with it, and it's nice that they're kind of the main maintainers of it. So yeah, if we can get that resolved at some point in the future, I think it'll really help the testing effort.
Yeah, definitely. I don't have a specific code that I jumped into. I think it's just a matter of fixing the types that we are passing to EVM1 because it's complaining about types. So yeah, not much to share from that. I will just keep on trying eventually.
It would probably be nice if there was a better spec for the T8N tool, frankly.
Yeah, definitely, because we only have the get implementation to follow, I guess, so that's an issue. Yeah.
Basis tried to implement T8N off of making it compatible with the execution level spec. So there's somewhat of a working T8N B11R tool there. But you got the startup time issues there, so you need to compile it to crawl, which is something that I haven't documented very well.
So basically, does it have EOF implemented? And I mean, I can give it a shot also with it if you guys have some working implementation of TN8 and also EOF, maybe.
We have the December EOF set up, and you would need to pass in a specific fork. I'm going to be camping all week, so I can't help you there this week. Maybe ping me Monday if you're still think it's a good idea to work big EOF. But we don't have the new opcodes for mega EOF yet, so we don't have create implemented. We don't have creator call yet for mega EOF either.
Yeah, I think it's still just a good option just to try to push through EVM1. I just need to find the time to to address the issues because we've been crowded with the hype tests for EF4 and the execution spec test also. But yeah, I will try to find some time and push through for EVM1.
Perfect. Anybody have any other testing related content to discuss? Hey, Zane.
Hey, it's been a little while. I actually just wanted to just double check. If you're interested in testing out some of the EOF functionality, is EVM1 the best way to go about that? Actually, can anyone hear me?
We hear you. I was waiting for somebody to jump in and say, you should use our implementation, but they didn't.
We don't have all the opcodes in yet, so
yeah,
we have jump, we have data load. Let me go down the list. It's Basu hasn't done create 3, create 4, call 2, return contract. We haven't done those yet, but we're up to date on the current container format, which I think is the bigger issue. I think our jump F is out of spec. So if you want to find tests that break and do some differential testing, that'd be a great one because you'll find great broken stuff in some of the jump F validation.
Cool. And yeah, that's
so the fork you'll need to use in EVM tool is future EIPs, or you'll need to set that in the Genesis since it's not locked into any particular release night right now. It's not even locked into prog, so I think we put it in future EIPs.
You mind dropping a link?
I'm going camping this week, so I'm like literally going to start filling up the car. I got to take the boys out, so this is like a bad week for
Okay.
me. I'll be more useful on Monday.
All right, sure. Thanks.
Ayman?
There's also this to-dos in the mega spec, like whether to forbid callf to non-returning code sections, or do we have callf in code sections, in non-returning code sections, and the signature of the main one. Are we gonna have them resolved, or they will still be to-dos for the foreseeable future?
Anyone?
Yeah, I think we probably for the next next 4 weeks, we definitely going to focus on the calls 2.0. And probably the mcopy, and once those are in like a better shape, then we will get back to like bigger EOF changes. At least that's my expectation, but you know, there may be some small deviations to it. I don't really remember what big to-do items we had there. I'm not fully sure if the non-returning function flag was added. Maybe that's what the to-do is referring to, because we agreed on having the flag and we wanted to add it. I'm just not sure if we actually managed to do that.
Okay, since all the to-dos are related to the non-returning code sections, so I guess you are right.
Other testing related things? Did we want to go and circle back to the question about mcopy?
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, so there was some chatter. We had like 2 minutes to discuss mcopy on all core devs, but there was some chatter about concern about increasing the testing surface and how we should only add very few opcodes per release. And I'm just wondering what the scope of the concerns is. I mean, if we're going to do EOF, we're totally going to be changing a lot of stuff in EOF. You know, it's I want to understand, you know, the impact of that statement. So we're not overloading testing, or if we need to help shore up testing when proposes, how that figures in.
A side comment to that, I think that's one of the motivations of why we propose a calls 2.0 now, because it's useful for EOF, but it should also be useful outside. Well, in fact, it's required for EOF, but should be useful for outside. And if we have it in a different fork, then the surface area for the EOF changes is reduced, and the EOF changes are quite significant anyway. But on the converse, the question is like the calls 2.0 changes too big, you know, for Cancun? But yeah, a side comment.
Yeah, I mean, just a general comment. I think people are worried about changing too much, and I don't really see how there's that much overlap between mcopy and tstore. So I'm like a bit against this opinion. I do understand that the reality is that people are going to have to write tests that interact T-store and mcopy just to be sure that there's no overlap. And so there's more tests that have to be written. I feel that mcopy is so simple though that this is not a major concern.
I think it was
And-
simpler than chain ID. It's crazily simple.
Yeah, I think that when we mention it again on all core devs in the next week, yeah. When we mention it in all core devs next week, I'm happy to say the same thing. I think that we should try and do mcopy, and there's very little overlap between that and the other changes.
Sorry, I must have missed this argument. So what was the reason against mcopy, or who suggested?
I think it was Marius. I think maybe tell me if I'm wrong. I think Marius said that he didn't like that there might be some interplay between T-store and mcopy, or like the tests that need to be written, they're going to have to test both mstore and mcopy and maybe test them interacting with each other. But I just don't see that there's being that much overlap between the two. Like they're pretty orthogonal mechanisms.
I mean, I guess one concern might be that he doesn't have enough time to get a good fuzz burn-in on it after everyone locks it in. But how
No.
much do we need to get fuzz burn-in? Is like, a day or two or a week? I mean, I'm not sure
Yeah.
what the metrics on how much fuzzing we do on this.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think we're looking at forking in October, probably September, October. Still have a lot of time to be fuzzing.
Testnet or mainnet?
For testnet.
Okay.
Or I guess,
So we
sorry,
said between-
mainnet. So testnet would be, end of August, maybe September.
Okay. Okay, I think it's relatively low risk, but if I'm wrong, please educate me. I'm open to being corrected of my incorrect views on this.
Yeah, from my side, I think it looks simple enough and copy. But yeah, I would like to talk to Marius. Maybe he has another opinion. Maybe something that we're not seeing. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, sounds good. If you get a chance to ask him in the next week or so, and there's something to post on the EVM channel, because I do think we'll talk about mcopy again on all core devs, and it would be good to think about, yeah, what the other perspective is. Great. Any final comments? Okay, then. Thanks a lot, everybody. Talk to you again in a couple weeks and see many of you on all core devs next week. Have a good one.
Thank you.